Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers, the HR lady. I am back with JC and our very special guest, Rhonda Scarf. Hey everybody.
Hey.
Hi.
We're talking about difficult conversations, and Rhonda, I want to talk more about your expertise in training and motivating other people, specifically administrative professionals. I found that super interesting when I checked you out on your websites. Teaching them to feel more appreciated and important to their company's success. You know, how does this all marry into the dealing with the difficult people? Because, oh man, there's some offices I go in and just as a customer, and I'm like, bless these admin staff for even dealing with me, never mind their coworkers or the difficult customers that they have to deal with on a regular basis. I feel like it's gotten even harder to be any type of customer service or admin person in the past few years. What are your thoughts?
Oh, 100%. I mean, when I talk about it, I go back about 20 years and I say, you know, there started a huge change when we started to get reality TV. Because that, you know, if you think about Survivor was sort of the first one that took off, right? And the goal of the game was to outwit, outsmart, outlast. And it didn't matter how you got to the end as long as you did. And that gave everybody permission to do whatever they needed to do to win. And in the last 20 years, that's become normal process. And when you look at the admin staff, they typically don't have authority. And so people do what they need to do to get to their executives or to get things done or to work the system. And admins end up having to take care of it all with no authority to say, I don't think you can do that, buddy. So they have to have those difficult conversations because it's a survival skill.
Wow, that is such an amazing way to look at it. And you are right on. I was having a conversation a couple days ago with somebody who is in office management, but again, really no management authority, a management of things, not necessarily of people or decisions. And, you know, I didn't even think about this that it was coming up on our podcast here, but I got that same information. It's like, well, I'm left, you know, just trying to figure things out. And should I make a decision? Should I not? And so I've just kind of figured out where my authority was and I run with it until I get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you either are on the receiving end of a difficult conversation because you crossed the line or you need more authority to get your job done.
So for the folks that are listening today, if you're in the HR space, which you probably are, or you have an extra one of your many hats, there are probably many of the admins that are listening going, yes, hello, thank you. Please go back and manage up to your superiors and say, okay, here are the common things that I usually have to decide on. What is my authority level? Give me some instruction, because I have to say, you know, I have a lot of small clients that don't have HR. It's usually somebody who's in the office administrative space and they lean on them for everything, but they're not necessarily paying them for that. And they don't have the skills for that. We just assume that they have the skills because that's what's been on their resume for a while.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean they do. I mean, there's a lot of difficult conversations to have when you're in the admin space for sure. And when I teach these, you know, I do a show of hands when I do an in-person workshop, and I'll say, how many of you have ever had a face-to-face difficult conversation? And about 30% of hands go up. And I said, how many of you have talked yourself out of it? And 100% of them.
Yeah. And this, by the way, folks, this works for at home too. It's not just for the work life. You know, you may need to have a difficult conversation and you're the customer and you still need to have a difficult conversation. I've done that as well, where I'm like, okay, you know, I'm kind of afraid to have this conversation because they're going to throw something in my food or, you know, whatever, but I need to have this conversation. So I need to check my attitude so that I don't get, you know, something thrown in my food if you're at a restaurant, for example, or something tossed on your bill. So what type of training do you offer? And is it in person? Is it virtual? When you're helping these administrative individuals learn to speak up and manage up or manage sideways, whichever way it needs to go.
Yeah, all of the above. I do in-person stuff when I'm dealing with, larger corporations where they have a good collection of staff that need the training all at the same time. So we can do anything from an hour to a day workshop. I also do the same thing online. We don't do a whole day in one shot. We break it up into, chunks. And we've got some self-study courses that people can follow along as well, and some more in the hopper. So basically trying to just do every learning option possible: books, webinars, workshops, in-person, virtual, self-directed, so that everybody can get what they need.
And you have this real life experience, firsthand experience from your career, correct?
Yeah. I started in a large real estate company in Ottawa, Ontario, and started in a small office. Ended up moving around the company and was executive assistant to a senior VP. And this was in the days before Google, so I was learning by the seat of my pants, and I thought every day I was going to get fired. And I had to figure out what to do the hard way. And yeah, I remember, people saying, "Who do you think you are?" and things like that. So yeah, it comes from real life experience for sure.
Who do you think you are? I think we have some interesting information here from Indeed, JC.
I do. I've got that right at the ready. And just so everyone is aware, Rhonda is a Hall of Fame speaker. So we all know who she is, by the way. Stop by, check her out online. We'll have that website coming up momentarily. Actually, what's the best way to find you online, if you don't mind me asking, Rhonda?
The best way is just to Google my name, because I am absolutely everywhere. So it's Rhonda with an H and Scarf with an H, SCHARF. And you will find me on all social media. I've got a whole bunch of different websites, depending on what you're looking for.
I saw that.
Yeah. I'm just really accessible. And I really am the one who responds to the emails and the social media stuff. So it's just Google my name. It'll come up.
Done deal.
Your preferred message will be there.
Done deal. I'm heading straight to TikTok at the end of this. We'll see if we find you.
I'm there. You will.
Now we're talking. Look, according to Indeed, administrative skills are essential for keeping business processes running smoothly. Any successful and efficient organization should have both administrative professionals with strong administrative skills and individual contributors with strong administrative skills. So at the end of the day, if you don't have the core, what do you have? Mm-hmm. That's from Indeed. Right. Back to you.
Awesome. Well, hey, listen, we have another series coming up, session coming up, 4 or 5 common mistakes when training frontline staff, or really anyone. So we'll be right back.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.